Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrick, and alongside me, as always, is my glitter trail. My
Jesus Christ.
Oh, come on. Let's see, what other references can I do? My magic wielder, the man with all the information, Josh Finney.
Oh, man. If you're wondering what Corey is referencing, we just recorded a Boss Rush extra over on the Boss Rush podcast, breaking down the state of Xbox leading into their summer showcase on the 11th. I don't know if you've gathered this from 147 episodes with us, but we really like to talk about video games together.
It's true.
And
it's true, we do.
Corey tends to, whenever he needs somebody to come talk about Xbox, the phone buzzes.
It's true. Look, Josh, so
I bring charts. I bring charts.
He does. He literally brought charts and documents and numbers, and I thought I was in school or something. I don't know what I thought. I asked for access for this document, and I just was like, okay, Josh. But seriously, Josh and I, for those who are new here, hello, hi. We lean towards the Xbox side of games for a lot of things, I would say. Not everything, but for
specifically
a lot of
for like our multi-platforms and like the overall like ecosystem and stuff. We're huge Game Pass fans.
Yeah.
Hashtag Xbox Game Pass TM.
Yeah. So we just we were doing the whole Xbox showcase prediction thing, and the Fable tease seems to be what everybody's talking about these days. And
oh boy.
That's my glitter trail, Josh.
There is some absolutely wild shit that we talked about. My 5% hope that Grand Theft Auto shows up in some way. It went to some crazy places, and some conspiracy spinfoil theory Josh came out. So if you've missed his appearances on this show, that's your place to find him. We were talking about, and we've been laughing about things like the PlayStation handheld device that's coming out that's like cloud based, and we were reminiscing about like the PSP, and just like how at one point I thought that was the future, the UMDs, and I was so excited to buy Advent Children for it, and I was like, I'm never watching another movie on DVD ever again, and I think I made it through 3 months watching them on that tiny ass screen before I decided it wasn't worth it. I went through the same thing with a click wheel iPod the same year. So
you didn't buy the $400 DVD player that also had a UMD player in it that was only made by Sony?
I did not, but I was so convinced that UMD was the future that was how I chose to buy. That was the only way you could buy Advent Children in the States at the time, was through UMD. But that's how I chose to buy Lords of Dogtown, Spider-Man 2, and Casino Royale. And then I later had to explain to my parents, like 3 months later, when everything was out on DVD, why I needed to buy these again. And that UMD was not, in fact, the future. And I was blinded by my love of Luminous and Tony Hawk's Underground Part 2.
Let me tell you the movies I had on UMD, Josh. I had Spider-Man 2. Mine came with Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. I had Superbad. And what was the other one I had? I had something else.
I'm honestly just impressed that was a thing. We got on to talking about UMDs. We were talking about like hackings of things. So we were reminiscing about how PS3s were sold with fucking Ricky Bobby on them.
It was so funny.
Corey and I, ladies and gentlemen, Corey and I go together, in the words of John C. Reilly, Mr. Cal Naughton Jr. It's a reference box that he might actually understand. We go together like cocaine and waffle.
Yes. We go together like lamb and tuna fish.
It's a Big Daddy reference for all of you.
Yeah. All you, God, that movie's going to be 20 years old soon.
It's already over 20 years old, Corey. I hate to break it to you. That movie
Oh no.
That movie is 25 years old this year.
Oh no, I feel gross.
Yeah, I feel fucking old. That's one of the first movies I can remember seeing a poster for when I went to go see like some horrible movie when I was like 6 years old, and I was like, "What's Big Daddy?" And my dad says, "You are not seeing that movie." I was 6, so
So was the kid in the movie.
I want to give a special shout out before we get too deep into the show tonight. For everybody who's been guesting with us lately, we've had a great rotation of people. We've had Fox on the show a few times. We've had Joasis, of course. We've had Andre. We've had Ronnie. We had Nerd came back and did a few episodes with us, and me and him are definitely already hard at work anticipating that final shape showcase. I'm already actively recruiting him and A1 Johnny. There's nobody I'd rather have on my fire team for that reveal. Uh, and of course, I want to draw everybody's attention to our dungeon discussion that we had over the holiday weekend with the one and only Sammy Gobo. If you've been listening to the show since the beginning, you know Sammy is one of the first people that ever wrote into the show with questions. They wrote in, Andre and Joasis did. They've become pillars of the community. I really enjoyed talking about Ghosts of the Deep, talking about what's it like to try and solo a dungeon, our frustrating experiences with that second fucking encounter. Just a lot of really good discussion. We ranked the dungeons at the end, and we thought we weren't going to have the same final three, and we did.
Of
So
course you did.
Check that out. We
There's,
were very proud of it.
I hear this is the best, one of the best ones. This dungeon.
Spoiler alert: we did rank Ghost of the Deep as the number one dungeon in Destiny. I think it's pretty inarguable. The underwater sections may make people go, I don't know, but man, the lore, the loot, it's certainly the best armor set in the dungeon.
I'm just saying the bite video I watched on it was I'm like, man, this is it made me almost put down Tears of the Kingdom to go play some Destiny so I could be ready to
Can
go.
I confide in you, Corey? I have not touched Tears of the Kingdom since the season started.
Yeah, I love Tears of the Kingdom, but I have like, and also I kind of put some of this on like, long story short, I went to the doctor. I kind of am on some new different medication, and it has like made me not want to play games at all, really. Like I just really don't feel like doing anything.
It happens. I went through a similar process a couple years ago. So.
Yeah, but I haven't felt the draw to play Tears of the Kingdom really as much as I thought I would.
The problem for me is it's not relaxing.
Yeah,
that's a very tense game, especially because I'm trying to explore the depths. And
the depths, man.
It's a lot, man. It's funny that I sit here and talk about how it's not relaxing, and yet the second we're done with this, I'm logging on to Diablo 4 Early Access with our friend Ray Apollo.
Super relaxing.
Super relaxing in a game where I have to min-max everything. But yeah, we will have a Diablo corner next week. I'll be sharing my thoughts over Early Access weekend, birthday weekend. As a matter of fact, I will be 31 on Sunday.
Wow, Josh, you're getting old.
I am getting old. I woke up with back pain last year on my 30th birthday, and I'm already feeling it creep up today. So,
hey, Josh, did you know that your back pain doesn't go away?
I have, in fact, found that out. A doctor told me and basically said good luck. So that's fun. I already have bad ankles, so my back hurting is not great. Gonna look fucking Quasimodo by the time I'm 35.
Oh my god.
The only thing missing from my life is a priest singing about demons and lust. So
no. Where are you? What's happening in your life that's all you're missing? I don't like
listen,
this at all.
Shit's been pretty dark for the last several months. I don't know if you know this, Corey. I've been kind of going through it over here. My poor therapist has gotten the brunt of it. Ted Lasso ended, and I'm just in complete disarray. Succession ended, which took some stress out of my life. It's man, I've been going through it over here, but Corey, we have a lot of Destiny to talk about tonight.
I know we do.
There's not a lot in the TWAB, thank God. We can actually just sit down and talk about the season, talk about the first couple quests. I want to talk about these deep dives and these salvages. Talk about some of the lore implications, some of the loot that we've come across. There's so much good stuff in here.
I know, there's a lot of this season is like, it's really grabbing me in a way that
it's a meaty season.
Yeah, like it's a fun season. It has a lot going on, but a lot of like things that are different enough to like, I want to go do this, because like sometimes you get in the seasonal routine and they have like, quote unquote multiple events, but it's like, oh well, this one over here is just a longer version of this one over here.
So the last time that we had multiple events to kind of explain for the folks at home, we had back during Season of the Plunder. you had Catch Crash, but you also had the quote pirate hideouts, which really were
Mhm.
basically nothing.
Mhm.
That was kind of their first experiment with let's do 2 events in a season. And I think that went really poorly. I'm very glad they went back to the drawing board here because let me tell you something. If we had a third season with fucking Battlegrounds as the event, I was probably going to just tap out. I was honestly probably going to take a break because those are fun. I'm glad that's a way to get more stuff into the Strikes playlist, especially with there being Nightfalls and GMs now. But it was really frustrating. I sometimes I just want to get in and have a mindless arena mode. Johnny and I were talking about this very late last night and early this morning. I get the feeling neither one of us is sleeping well right now. We were talking about it and about how much we enjoy things being shaken up because there is the 6-man activity that's salvage, which is really laid back. It's like 1750 to get in there. It rotates a boss weekly, and some of those have very cool lore implications, such as this week. One of the Taken that you fight is Val Kalor, who is the boss of Spire of Stars from the Leviathan raid layers. But he's brought back as a Taken. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was so cool. That's like
Yeah.
a little lore nugget. We know from the tribes Kelgarath and from the lore Kelgarath is coming back
Yeah.
as next week's boss. I'm very excited about things like that.
Well, the dungeon, one of the, not going to spoil the dungeon, but one of the
I mean, I'll fucking
things in the,
spoil it because we talked about it in
yeah,
in the dungeon episode. There are 3 enemies you fight in there that are from classic quests. One of
yeah,
whom is one of the knights that you fight in the exotic sword quest from Destiny 1.
hmm
One is a wizard from the strange terrain strike from Warmind, and
hmm
then the other knight that you fight is one of the Court of Oryx bosses.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I like reaching back into the past and bringing these characters back in. I think it's exciting. I think that it adds a new dimension to the storytelling, especially when you consider like the lineage of the Hive and the Taken. This season is going super hard in on that, and it's filled with Easter eggs for those of us who have been with the game since the beginning, like the fish tank. Even you look at the fish
yeah.
tank, and there's all the artifacts. If you've been playing the seasons and doing the storylines, like I thought those showed up for everyone. They in fact do not. Our friend Ray and I were playing last night. Me, Ray, and Nerd were all on the fire team, and we're playing. And Ray was like, we were like, hey, do you somebody? I think it was Nerd was like, hey, do you have this in your tank? And Ray's like, I do not have that. What are you guys talking about? Like all our seasonal artifacts since Chosen are in the
hmm
tank, including the Callus bobblehead.
yeah,
But he didn't have that. He just had the fish and the fauna that we've been finding in the deep dives. So
yeah,
I thought that was a really cool way to make it look unique based on what you've done in the game. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. Like it's just like little Easter eggs based on
hmm
how much you've done in the game.
yeah. I love that. I love it so
So
much.
let's talk about why this season is different. There's 2 different events. There's the salvages and there's the deep dives. The salvage it's cool. Like we said, it's a pretty laid back event. 6 people, you can match make. I'm sure there's going to be a legend mode of this eventually, but for right now, there's not. It's an easy way to go in and try to get some red borders, get some decent armor. There's like the equivalent of treasure goblins that you can hunt also, which is really fun. They drop 2 legendary Ingrams and a decent amount of rep that you can get.
hmm
You get rep for each encounter completed. The rep is very generous this season. The vendor rep,
hmm
very
Yeah,
generous. I'm already like rank 11 or 12. And
yeah,
I would not say I've been grinding this season at all.
hmm
Very generous, a little bit less generous with the red borders, but the rep has been pretty generous. I like how laid back that is, and just it's kind of fun. It's a way to reuse the Titan space, of course. And it changes up each time too. You can do a couple runs for the week and not feel like you have to keep grinding it. You can even just do your one run that you have to do for the story and then not come back. Deep dive is the activity that I'm loving right now because there are ways to make it harder and get better rewards out of it that we have come to find. You can load in, you can just run through it like normal, and you'll get tier 1 rewards, which I mean, okay, you can get a moderate amount of rep. I figured out a way a couple days ago to get it to a tier 3, and that was really cool. You can find the Spark of Toland and do a couple things, and you'll have a challenge you have to do. Well, last night we accidentally made it a tier 5, which is the highest you can get it to. And let me tell you something, it made that final boss room fucking hard. Instead of there being 1 or 2 ogres, there were 4. And if they basically shot you, you were dead. The boss followed you around the room, too, on top of that. It was hard. We wiped once trying to do it, and then we eventually just had to like start chain reviving. But we dropped the boss. We got 2 chests out of it, lots of loot, like 350, 400-ish rep without any sort of boosters. It was great. I really enjoyed it, but they've adopted a roguelike structure, and I think this is where Johnny and I are really loving it. They adopted a roguelike structure where you get to pick your perks on each level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. So like one of the ones I took last night was the increase to arc damage. I took increase to heavy, and then you got Asha's gift at the end. Corey, I had 700 rounds in my LMG going into the boss battle. When we wiped, I switched to rockets, and I went in with 12 rockets. 12. It was wild. We needed every single one of those rockets between the 3 of us. We went in with like 35 rockets, and it still wasn't. Borderline was not enough. It was a lot of fun, though. We were talking, and we really hope there's one more tier next week with the third and final boss, which should allow us to go even deeper. But completing it on with the tier 5 rewards, and if it taps out at tier 5, I think that's fine because it's plenty difficult at tier 5, even with a good build and a good team. The rewards are worth it. It doesn't take that much longer. It takes you like an extra like 3 or 4 minutes maybe. The rewards are worth it though. That's the biggest thing. Like it's hard content that's actually rewarding, and they're doing this in lieu of legend content, I feel, because none of this is and it's not required to do a tier 5 in order to get the title, which is maybe the most amazing thing that they've done. They're not relying on you figuring out how to activate this because it's very much a bonus thing. But I think more and more teams are starting to figure out how to do it. We've seen the YouTube videos, we've seen the tweets about it. Being able to customize your difficulty in the mission. If you just want to go in and chill, you can go in and chill. You want to make it hard because you got an experienced team, you can go in and make it hard and do that.
It's really smart, I think.
It's fantastic. If this is indicative of the difficulty that Destiny is going to have going forward, I'm stoked. Because again, you can kind of customize the difficulty. Like if it was just like me and Ray going through it, I would have done it on an easier difficulty. I probably would have done the tier 3 rewards, but the tier 5, man, that was a genuine challenge, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm max level. I really enjoyed it though. I enjoyed putting my build to the test in there. I think things like that are so rewarding as long as we're not doing it every single season. You know, we're changing up the activities occasionally. Like I fully expect us to go back to Battlegrounds for the final season, but I think that's the next time that we might get some next season leading into it. Just because if there's a bigger story to tell, but the seasonal stuff doesn't stop there or with the dungeon. They also added a new social mechanic in fishing. They've added fishing, and I'll be honest, fishing is something I really hope they do not vault with the final shape, because I think it's so relaxing. You could easily expand this to be on every single planet.
It's a JRPG now.
It literally, it's gone full RPG. It's gone full MMO now that it has fishing.
Well, it's full RPG. They're owned by Sony, which is a Japanese company.
Yep.
Fishing, yep. JRPG. Confirmed.
It's genuinely been a lot of fun though. Like I'm actually surprised with it's so simple, but it's actually been fun to just like sit there and like shoot the shit with my friends like late at night when we're just like hanging out and we really don't want to do anything. Like we've done some salvages or we've done some deep dives, maybe some Crucible, and we just want to go fish for a little bit. It's been a lot of fun. I would really like to see that expanded. It's also such a reliable source of seasonal rep, legendary weapon, legendary gear, red borders, and exotics. For every exotic fish you turn in, you get a guaranteed exotic.
Oh, really?
Yes, for every exotic fish you turn in, you get a guaranteed exotic, and they're high stat rolls. The lowest stat roll I've seen of the 4 that I've turned in has been a 65, Corey.
Wow.
For an exotic piece of armor.
They're really gearing people up for this for the final shape. It feels like like everything is like easier. You know, like
I don't even know if it's easier. I actually think they turned the difficulty knob up with Lightfall. The game genuinely feels more challenging. They did it with Seraph, and then they cranked it for Lightfall, which is fine. And I will take being able to customize my difficulty over you have to do either the super easy version or the legend version with no in between. I will take this any day.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't work for strikes and whatnot, but you have the different tiers of Nightfall you can do there. I'd like a more challenging strike playlist, but whatever. Um, you have that, and then they still figured out how to weasel in other content. You know, Trials has gotten a complete overhaul. Haven't gotten to experience Trials yet. Was a little bit busy fishing last weekend. Um,
Fishing.
it feels like the biggest like update season wise that we've gotten in a long time. So we got the 6 Taken weapons, you got 6 Reckoning weapons back, and then you got another return weapon in Randy's throwing knife. You got Loaded Question back, and I forget what the Gambit weapon is, but you got these weapons back in those rotations. There's a brand new fusion rifle to earn, Strand Fusion to earn in Iron Banner. There's a Trials glaive and the return of the Messenger Pulse rifle in Trials. I think like loot wise, this is a really rewarding season. The dungeon loot is outstanding. The craftable weapons and the perk pulls. Johnny has made me eat my words. I now want to go farm Last Wish for these red borders. I really should have done it last week because it's been confirmed to be a bug and will be fixed by the next time it comes around in the rotation, unfortunately. But I mean, you've got stuff there that you can do and you can farm. They're really wanting to make sure you have all these avenues during the summer, and I think it's very smart to put it in this season with so many good weapons coming to the forefront now. That hey, we want to buff your arsenals a little bit, and this is probably indicative of how we're going to do difficulty going forward with dropping light. Yeah, because there's no power increase this season. If you got the 1810, that's it. And how they do the vendor upgrades that we know, you just have to go to the war table and buy them, or go to Saladin or go to Crow or whoever. There's none of that shit. It's on the seasonal challenges menu, and they give you XP for each one that you get too. It's great. It's great. Keep this system forever. There's a couple that are time gated, but you can have every single one of these upgrades by week 3. By week 3, you can have all 10 of them.
Yeah.
You're not locked out. Here I am at the beginning of week 2, and I was already able at reset to buy my first red border guaranteed from the vendor. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I like this system a lot. I think it's a lot more fair. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're not being locked out until like week 7 or 8 to get all of your upgrades. Like when you've already lost interest in the season, the seasonal story is only going to be 6 weeks long. We're a third of the way through it already.
Yeah.
I'm completely here for it. In a super packed summer, that means now that I can kind of let my attention wander towards the end of June. Yeah, towards the end of June,
because we know you're going to be sucked into Diablo and Final Fantasy. So
I mean, I got Final Fantasy 16. I already mentioned that I haven't finished Tears of the Kingdom. I'm maybe 50% of the way through the main story on that. I'll probably be playing Tears all the way up until Starfield, honestly. But I mean, that opens July up to just kind of do whatever. And then like, oh, okay, I'll wander back for Solstice, see what they got for Solstice. I don't know if I really care about this. Okay, I'm going to kind of dip back out. I'll be back for the final shape reveal. But it frees me up to be able to do other things. And I really like that about Destiny, because at the same time, I didn't expect to be engaged with this season, and I really like it. I think the underwater sections are really creative for a game like this. There's no underwater combat, which I'm very appreciative that there's no underwater combat. Mm-hmm. That would be a little too chaotic, I think, for me. But I like that you can explore around when you're underwater in the deep dives and get plants for your aquarium to make it look even better.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's cool. There's fishing triumphs you can do to get other things like an anchor or a cannon in your fish tank. You can make it as full or as empty as you want. This is cool. I don't want this to go away.
This is the next step. This is the step where we get our own ship. And
oh my god! If I have to talk about capital ships again, I'm gonna have to contact the doctor, because that's exciting for me.
I'm saying, man, this is happening. Whatever's after the final shape, when we go, whenever this new game comes out, right? You're gonna build your own ship. And that's going to be, instead of getting ships as rewards, you get ship parts to upgrade your ship to go to all these cool places. I'm saying,
I hope so. I think it's very exciting. I really like what they're doing here with these events. I think it's a nice shakeup from, again, we had 2 seasons in a row of Battlegrounds. It's nice to have something with like not necessarily lower stakes, but like you can just like kind of go on autopilot if you want to and finish and get
Mhm.
your rewards. But obviously, the higher that you do it, the more likely you are to get good rewards. To get better rewards, to get exotics, get things like that. And
Yeah.
turning into fish, I mean, my God, it's just it's rewarding when you go in there and dunk them for the XP alone. But
Yeah.
it's been such a welcome change of pace from what Bungie probably would have even done like a year and a half ago with this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like this. There's already like I said, there's a campaign to keep fishing in the game. It's only been in here for 10 days, and we're already like, please don't take this out.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it's good for us to farm legendary armor and weapons. If nothing else.
So it's fishing. Is fishing only on Titan,
No,
or is there?
fishing's not on Titan at all.
It's not.
No, you can't explore Titan. Titan you can only go to with deep dive and with salvage. Fishing is in the EDZ, over in the outskirts. It's on Savathun's
Okay.
throne world up in the north part of the map, and it is on
Okay.
Nessus, over by where we went to go do where the giant pool of Vex milk is,
Okay.
where you
Yeah.
do
Sorry,
the
I
inverted
just
spire strike. Yeah, no,
haven't been paying attention all that much. But
those are the three areas where you can go do the
that.
fishing. They have a rotating exotic pond each week too, and that's where you can go catch exotic fish, as the name
Ooh.
implies. And again, for each one of those that you dunk, you get a guaranteed exotic armor piece. I believe it has to already be in your pool, but I can confirm that if you have some of the if you have Lost Sector exotics in your exotic pool, those can drop. I have received 2 so far.
Mm, nice.
So that's exciting. That's another avenue, another route. I don't know if maybe those will unlock as you get the rest of the armor. I'd be a little interested to see. But yeah, that was really, I think that was a really cool little touch. Um, Obviously, lots of legendary armor and weapons. It's a good shard farm, if nothing else. Ultimately, it's a lot of
Cool.
investment, but yeah, I think it's a nice like little low stress thing. You can't shoot your friends. You can't even drive up a sparrow on them because you'll blow up. Enemies that are shooting at you can't hurt you while you're doing it. The pawns do disappear during the public event, and that's because they want people to do the public events. But it's the
Yeah.
most activity I've seen around public events in years. Like since the launch of the Witch Queen. So that's been a nice change of pace. I think it's all just really, really fun. It's a fun loop right now. Granted, we are 10 days into the season and I'm not going super hard on it, but
Yeah.
it is a fun loop compared to past seasons.
That's good.
Certainly compared to last year with Haunted when we went back to the Leviathan.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
This is certainly miles better than that or Plunder. In terms of narrative, I don't know if we're there yet. We're 2 weeks in. What I think we talked about her last week. Let's talk about Sloan a little bit here.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah.
She said
Tell
she
me
had
about
to
Sloan.
shed the exosuit that we knew she got during the events of Arrivals. She had to shed that almost immediately after Titan was lost. She had to bond with Taken Energy to survive, quote unquote. And she's friends with this big ass Leviathan.
Yeah.
There's a
Asha,
lot going on.
right?
Yeah, Asha. We
Yeah.
learned a little bit more as she communed with the creature this week in this week's story. But it remains to be seen exactly like, and it was kind of like broken and garbled. And admittedly, I was in the middle of doing something, so I really didn't get the full extent of the dialogue. Um, I might play through it on another character just to understand what's going on there. But we have been told that we're going to learn more about like the witnesses' motivations this season and whatnot. The Veil quest certainly hints at that. Which, oh god, that's a whole nother thing. Like on top of everything else, we got that quest on Niamuna, which was really
Right.
cool. But they're very clearly setting the stage for Light and Dark. I mean, you could have easily taken the events of this season and you could have built an expansion around this.
Yeah. That almost makes me.
I'm
That
very
almost makes
happy
me
they
wonder.
didn't. I think in the
Yeah.
past they would have done something like Curse of Osiris sized. And I'm glad they
Yeah.
didn't, because I think that also at the same time though, like this is such critical like story information that how can you take this out of the game?
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue. I think is that this is still going to be taken out of the game. I'm still holding out hope that like relevant seasonal content will be put back in. Like maybe they'll leave like the story for Defiance and the story of Deep and whatever comes in the next 2 seasons. Maybe they'll leave that in game. Because we don't have Battlegrounds to kind of tell us that story like we do for Seraph. And Seraph Shield is coming back. We know that. But, and we're going to have the Defiant Battlegrounds from last season. But the mission where Amanda dies is presumably going to be taken out of the game. Like, you just have people moping about her. And like, well, where the fuck is Amanda? Well, sorry, you had to play during that year. I may not have liked the content during Haunted, but that was so important. That's Lance Reddick's best performance in the series, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's maddening. Like, yeah, sure, take fucking Plunder, which really didn't matter too much. Like, the lore was good, yes, but like you could take the rest of that out, and it really didn't matter too much. Yeah. But we really need that. We need the performances from Lance Reddick, from Courtney Taylor, who does Caittl's voice. We need those. We need Brendan O'Neill, who does Crow. Like, those three had such huge moments in Haunted, and it's just gone. It's gone. It's the first time that I've sat there and gone like, I can't believe this is gone. Like, Splicer, I liked Splicer, but okay, fine. We lost Splicer. We lost. We still have the Battlegrounds and the strike from Chosen. Haunted is really the first season that I've looked back on, and I'm like, I can't believe that's gone. Saladin joining the Cabal, that's gone forever from Risen.
Yeah, I mean,
the Rasputin stuff is gone.
Yeah, they got to start putting some of these story cutscene things in the game. Like, I mean, I know they've started archiving their stuff on their website. We need a theater channel, mode, but like, yeah, it's just there's so much that's missing.
It's not even that. Like, some of these that are like specifically missions, like the mission where you team up with Caitl against Callus's Spectre. Like, that should be a playable mission.
Yeah,
we've talked a lot about Codename Goliath in the past, and I don't want this to get into another conversation on that. But I really hope that when they talk Goliath and it shows on their roadmap that was supposed to line up with the final shape, I really hope that's them saying like, hey, we're putting a lot of this stuff back into the game. And it'll be like a selectable playlist that you can do where you can launch the missions individually. Like, it needs to be in the game. We need the base Red War back.
Yeah.
We need Forsaken back. Especially if Cade 6 is coming back, we need Forsaken back. We need these events to be back so you can understand the context of what's happening. Especially when those are the only two campaigns that are really... Nobody gives a fuck about Curse of Osiris. And honestly, nobody really cares about Warmind too much. Just Warmind has the Knocker Strike and the Zol Strike, which kind of important to the Hive. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. Like, we need these storylines back.
Yeah, we really do.
We really, really need these storylines back, and it's just frustrating. I think that just like kind of goes into like this whole like games as a service thing. Like, all the Destiny 1 content is still there in D1. D2 is the only thing that's had stuff archived, and we know why. Like, all the old raids were archived. God, still really hoping it's Wrath of the Machine this year, but not.
Did you see they asked the Destiny 2 teams tweeted out and asked which raid we wanted back?
Unbelievable. I did not see that. I missed that, and I'm very glad that I missed that because that's frustrating.
No, I only saw it because Paul Tassi retweeted. He's like, what?
Was it today? Like,
it might have been, it was either today or yesterday.
Okay, I gotta look this up because I can't believe I didn't see this. That's actually really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, where is it? I'm
looking it up. Let's keep going while I'm looking this up. Man, it's kind of fucking wild. I don't. There's so many things that you could still do here. There's so many things you can do this season. Like, I guess that's just what I'm like coming back to, is there's so much there. And this has been, I think, just a really, really, really solid beginning to the season. God, I'm still scrolling through his shit. There's a lot this season. This is a fun season so far. I'm enjoying it. I really, really, really hope that they continue on this path. The third season historically is the roughest. The second season, on the other hand, gave us Dawn. It's given us Chosen. Last year, it gave us Haunted, which was strong in terms of narrative, but not in terms of gameplay. The third season, I think if the third season's a banger, then we're in really good hands. I still think that they're gonna nail this. Okay. So thank God it was not the actual Destiny account. I found it.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
It's Destiny Bolton. I've also been confused by them in the past, and that's why I have them muted. That's why I didn't see this.
Okay.
Yeah, he goes, wait, there are actual choices.
Yeah.
Wrath would be
Okay.
tough considering Siva fallen and building essentially a new raid exotic, but that's pretty much all that's left. They said Crota wasn't big enough, and they're not going to start doing Sunset D2 once before Wrath. You could bookmark this for the Paul was wrong file when it's Scourge or something. God, words do not describe how disappointed I would be for it not to be Wrath of the Machine.
Yeah, and we've already given them the idea for 2 years, the Siva trace rifle.
So I think the trace rifle is out now, though. After the trace, there's an exotic trace in the new dungeon that's Strand, and it would have done exactly what I wanted the Siva one to do.
Oh, wow.
So for those who don't know, the dungeon trace is a exotic Strand trace rifle that when you shoot your teammates, you and your teammate are given woven mail, Strand armor, and then when you shoot enemies, they're automatically hit with unraveling. Really fucking good exotic, by the way, when you pair it with that new Warlock helmet this season. Really fucking good. Yeah, so pop your well, stand in there, wear the fucking aircraft carrier on your head, and shut the fuck up. I'm kidding. I love all my Warlocks. Please continue to run Divinity and Woven Mail for me. Thank you very much.
So we don't have
to. So I don't have to. I did it for enough years. It's okay. I don't know. I think we're off to a great start this season. I think that this summer is going to be a fun season. I'm excited to see what they do for Solstice. We are definitely we're off to the races. We're gonna have the seasonal story concluded by the end of June, which lets us just chill for like 2 months. The showcase reveal is of course happening on the 22nd of August. That is when we'll get the new season as well, and we'll get the raid finally confirmed. Right. I don't even want to imagine what the internet reaction is going to be if it's not Wrath or a completely reimagined Crota's End at this point.
I don't even want Crota's End as a
personal conspiracy. They're saving Crota's End for the 10th anniversary next year. I think it's like a tongue-in-cheek thing and be like, hey, we're going to do a whole celebration of the 10th anniversary and Crota's End is being given to you there.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who I was talking about this with. It may have been I don't think it was on last week's show. I think I was talking about this with Sammy, actually, off camera. I think I was talking with him, and I forget who else was in the party. But as my pitch is basically give me a couple, do mini expansions leading up to the end of, Final Shape's content cycle instead of seasons. Maybe say, hey, we're going to support Final Shape for 18 months instead of 12 to give us time to make the next proper installment. Well, we want to wrap up a lot. We have a lot of storylines to wrap up, but give me 2 that actually wrap up storylines, but give me the one that's in between on the exact 10th anniversary of Destiny 1. Say this is the final stuff we're ever bringing over from D1 into the updated Tiger engine. You're going to get a selection of strikes. You're going to get Crota's End rebuilt. You're going to get a couple more exotics, and we're going back to the old tower. That's it. We're done. We're done after this. Do not ask us for any more Destiny 1 content. I would be okay with that. I would accept that because then all the major content would be over. I think at the very least you probably get the moon strikes, but I digress.
Taniks.
Somehow Taniks returned. I mean that's what we were talking about. The assets for the moon strikes are already there for Fogoth and for Taniks. The entire layout of those strikes is already in the game.
Yeah.
How hard is that to actually add those in?
Right.
I mean, I'm armchair developing, but genuinely, how difficult would that be? You have a lot of Black Garden assets. You could probably pretty easily add the Undying Mind in. Obviously, the Vox Obscura mission has a lot at the beginning of the exclusion zone for the Cabal. If
Yeah.
they do not include the Volus Tarak strike in an anniversary pack, we've been failed. There's no way you can leave out the most meme-worthy thing that has ever been in Destiny.
Yes, let me hide behind the boxes,
Let me
please.
hide behind the boxes, but I think also for like the Lance Reddick narration, that would be
Hmm.
kind of fitting if like that's the last dialogue we ever have from Zavala, is that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But just like it's the original audio, it's like clearly not like updated or anything.
Right.
Would be fitting.
Yeah.
Um I I guess I like I don't struggle to think of how they're going to top this season, but I think like already if you include the dungeon in this, like this is one of the better seasons that we've gotten already just 10 days in.
Yeah.
And like we're not going to discuss rankings until we get like the whole seasonal story, but it's clear Sloan has gone through a lot of shit. Like this is kind of a therapeutic season for her. I'm not entirely convinced that Sloan actually makes it out of this season alive. I think eventually the Taken stuff eventually overwhelms her. She would be the first Taken Guardian.
Yeah.
I think that's eventually coming. I really do. Like she sacrifices herself to stop Zivu Arath's forces on Titan, something like that. I feel like it's coming. That's going to be a major theme of this year is loss. Like, oh, we got her back, but she's gone. We got Asher back, but not really. Amanda is helping us out, but she's dead. And at a certain point, someone's getting fucking rezzed, and it better be a four-armed man by the name of Mithrax.
Mm.
It just
Yes.
it feels like we're seeing an escalation in terms of the storytelling. Also, like I've long said that I want the dungeons to tell stories that not only enhance the season that they're in, but they tell us a greater story within the universe.
Hmm.
And we got that with the Shattered Throne. That's where we got. That's the end of the Curse of Dreaming City. Technically, that's the end of the 3 weeks. Killing Dol and Karu starts it over.
Hmm.
But that was also like one of the first explicit mentions we had that Savathun was in the system.
Yeah.
Because Dol and Karu is her daughter. You have that. You have Pit of Heresy, which is the first attempt to revive Oryx. And like, okay. You had to really read into a lot of shit to understand what Zulamak was actually doing. It's not explicitly laid out for you.
Hmm.
Like Shattered Throne is, or like some of the other dungeons are. Prophecy is fucking weird. That's supposed to be answering the questions of the nine. And let me tell you, I've slept a lot since then. I've drank a lot since then. I don't exactly remember what happened in the first couple times I ran Prophecy, but it's really trippy. But we ranked it as the second best dungeon on our dungeon recap.
I would argue I still don't really know what's happening in Prophecy, except for
Yeah, I would
you wake
argue.
up in a room with a bunch of giant heads where you go get your loot, and if you get too close, you die.
Yeah, that's completely fair. You have Grasp of Avarice, which definitely does not tell a story. It's meant to just be, tongue in cheek. This is fun. It's in the loot cave. This and that. With Duality, we saw a shift. Duality tells us a story within the context of the season. This is where I have made the argument that I think that the dungeons should come later in the seasons. I understand why they want them at the beginning. I think they should come later so that they can be the conclusions to these stories in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Hmm.
Duality is cool, but unless you understand what we were doing that season, confronting nightmares and confronting our past demons, you're kind of like, well, what the fuck am I in Callus's mind?
Right.
And you realize you're fighting his image of Caitl, which is all cool and stuff, but I shouldn't have to go watch a Bife video as a new player to understand what's going on there. Spire of the
Yeah.
Watcher is cool, and Osiris explicitly is talking the whole time about what's happening. That's clearly meant to be a prelude to what happens in Lightfall,
Yeah.
which is nice. And ultimately, you can see Duality as that too, because that's like it's implied. Oh, that's the moment where Callus is giving himself over to the Witness.
Hmm.
But again, we'd have better context if we had that final story mission of the season there too. Those two very much are a part 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
You fight the image of Caitl in her mind, and then you're actually fighting Callus with Caitl to help
Yeah.
her overcome the final trauma. And then you have Ghosts of the Deep. And Ghosts of the Deep, I feel like this is a prelude to what's coming the rest of this season or what's coming next season. Corey, I know you have not run the dungeon yet. Do you know the story of what happens in the dungeon?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. So for anybody who has not watched our dungeon recap or who has not actually run the dungeon and wishes to remain spoiler free, this is your warning to get out now. I'm going to spoil it. I'm gonna go full spoilers because I think it's important in the context of the season. We have had some requests to discuss Zivu
Hmm.
Arath's role in the story up to this point.
Yeah.
I'm not really ready to the Ziva Wrath request came in very late today, so I'm not ready to discuss that now. And I want to see how this season plays out since she's actually talking to us for the first time. I want to see how
Yeah.
this plays out.
Scary, by
Oh,
the
it's
way.
terrifying the first time you hear it. You're like, what the fuck is that voice? And then you go, oh my god, it's Zivu Arath. You see it up on the screen. Talks in all caps and yells at you in all caps. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Mm.
But when you're going into Ghost of the Deep, you encounter these we're calling them ghost fragments. I don't know what they actually are, but they're memories of Zivu Arath that you're finding. And
Hmm.
it's the story of her finding out that Oryx is dead. She was
Mm.
unaware that Oryx was dead up until the events of this dungeon.
Yeah.
And it's her mourning
Yeah.
Oryx. And it's funny that you're getting all those memories because you think, oh my god, like, well, this has to be Zivu Arath's brood, right? No, this is Savathun's brood. She clearly sent them to Titan before she died because the brood that was on Titan was always Savathun's.
Right.
We have the Savathun song strike for God's sake.
Mm.
This was always Savathun's brood, but the Lucent Hive are there. You fight a lot of Hive Guardians and Risen Hive Guardians and whatnot. And they're it's setting up, I think, for anybody who watched Game of Thrones, there was this long anticipated showdown. It had been anticipated in the books for years and years, and then throughout the show, it came to be known as the Clegane Bowl between the Hound and the Mountain that was going to happen. It finally happens in the penultimate episode of the series, and it was really underwhelming when it happened. I feel like they're setting up a showdown between Zivu Arath and Savathun. Savathun was clearly trying to resurrect Oryx because you have to think a resurrected Oryx via a ghost would have none of his memories. He would have
Right.
no idea what had happened. But
Right.
Savathun would see the power of Oryx, the Taken King, on her side. That's something to stand up against the witness.
Yeah.
We prevent Oryx's resurrection. The moment where you drop down to the seafloor and you see Oryx's body elicited a very loud shriek from me.
Isn't that crazy?
It
It's
is
so
insane.
cool.
You do DPS on Oryx's fucking face. It's so wild. You're running around doing these things. You're lining up Taken King symbol. You're lining up Oryx's symbol like you did Savathun's symbol in the Throne World. It's crazy. We've already talked about the enemies that you fight in here, but you go through all of this, and even the lore on the weapons is a lot of it's Zivu Arath mourning.
Yeah.
And how sentimental she is compared to Savathun. Savathun sees everybody as a tool. They're a tool to get her ultimate goal. And we still don't know her ultimate goal, but we're starting to learn a little bit more through the events of this dungeon and through the Neomuna quest that we have. We learn in the Neomuna quest that she's the one who hid the veil on Neptune. It was not always there. She actually steals and goes with it. And that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy that we get the explicit confirmation that happens. And it's kind of implied from the logs of Maya Sundaresh and her wife. And it's like, oh my god, like this is stuff. And I mean that felt like a pretty reasonable explanation after the campaign. But when you start looking at these things in tandem, it feels like they're very clearly setting up the resurrection of Savathun. But I feel like we may be the ones doing the resurrecting at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like it's becoming the ultimate "the enemy of my enemy is my friend" situation.
Yeah.
And that ultimately Savathun's purpose is probably fighting her sister. Let's be totally honest.
Oh man, that'd be so cool though.
I
Like a
would love
battle.
for there to be a mission where we're like jumping out in space between ships of like the Witness's fleet trying to get to him, and we just see these two hive gods duking it out.
That'd be so cool.
That would be so fucking cool, and I don't know if our consoles could handle it without melting, but that would be a Bungie ass thing.
That'd be so cool, dude.
We also need to have a conversation about
it would almost be like, remember when you were playing Halo 3 and you realized that you could like climb up into the scarabs while they're walking for the first time?
Yes.
That's kind of like, this era's that, I guess, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. That'd be so cool. I want to watch.
We have to have a conversation about Ikora collecting hive carcasses, because she sends a team led by Fenchurch down to good old Fenchurch. I'm glad that he's getting shit to do. He's a member of the Hidden. They go down to retrieve Oryx's corpse, essentially, which we find out that through mitosis has actually been getting bigger while it's been in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they extract it to put into a Vanguard vault back on Earth. Listen, we already have Savathun's corpse there. Imaru is still floating around. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, this is a bad idea.
This is a really bad idea.
What does
I
she
don't
think
know.
she's going to do with them?
Dude, I don't know, and it's really starting to worry me. Does Zavala know about this? Like, that's my next question. How much does Zavala know about what's going on here?
Right.
I digress. I think that the lore is getting like, I think the stories that we're getting are so wacky now, and it's like at the same time, it's like, oh well, space magic. Like there were people debating all week on Twitter, like, oh, there's no way that Oryx's body would have hit Titan after getting jettisoned from where the dreadnought was, and blah blah blah. There's a chunk of the dreadnought. Then shut the fuck up. Shut up, you fucking nerds. Because space wizards. That's all the explanation you need. Because space wizards.
Right.
Anybody looking for logic in a game where we are conjuring lightning out of our fingertips, I don't know what to tell. We literally are putting, like, we put Oryx's soul into a fucking gun. Every time we see a hive god, we're like, you want to be a gun? Shut the fuck up or I'm putting your ass in this gun. It's been a while since I got a new fusion. You could power a fusion rifle over here, man.
I mean, what if you stuffed Oryx into a fusion rifle and you got to shoot little, like, Taken bubbles out? Or,
I mean, that would be cool. We already have him in Touch of Malice. His literal soul is in. I find it also funny that part of the thing that Xivu Arath is doing in these memories is chastising us, knowing that we will find these memories, chastising the Guardian for not seizing Oryx's power.
Right.
Which has been like a hotly contested topic over the years since the Taken King. Like, if we would have taken it, how powerful would we have been? Would we have been on par with like Rolk, for example? Or
right.
what?
Right.
And it's like, damn, do we finally like decide in the final shape, like maybe in the battle against the Witness, to like tap into that power finally?
Oh man,
I need it to be like a Rodimus Prime awakening scene from Transformers 1986. I just need Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime to be like, arise, Rodimus Prime, and light our darkest hour. Like, I need that shit to happen, but like with Zavala telling us that, and then just out of nowhere, Stan Bush just starts playing. Out of nowhere. The touch starts playing.
Touch.
Bro, I swear to God, the first time I beat the Witness in Destiny, in the final shape, I'm going to beat him. And the second time I play it, I'm going to have that song queued up when like the cutscene plays so that it's timed perfectly.
Yeah.
Because I need that. If there is a like Warthog-esque escape from his ship or like whatever, portal he's in or whatever, and we're racing out Pillar of Autumn style, that is my soundtrack to Escape.
What a way to close out the final shape campaign, though, is if it was a Pillar of Autumn style.
Oh my God, Corey, I would fucking cry. They already topped the Pillar of Autumn escape with the escape in Halo 3.
Well, I'm just saying, you got to end this game with a chase. You have to.
Yeah, we need a spare. I think it's only fitting if you have a Sparrow race out.
Yeah.
Or it's like the one time they give you control of your ship. I would
They did ask if you wanted to fly your ship in Destiny. That was on a survey recently.
I would accept that. Corey, I would cry. I would cry if I'm flying, this just absurdly shaped ship, flying it out. Just like they give you like the default ship just for story purposes. Ugh, God. So much you can do here. So much you can do.
They're already giving you Kvastov in all the cutscenes now, so I mean, they might as well give you the ship. The default ship.
That's true. Listen, that's not the weapon that I crafted and got to like level 50. Okay, that is not Rufus's Fury, Bungie.
That is not my glaive, Bungie.
Oh my God, dude, that is not my fucking glaive. You're absolutely right. No discussion about the dungeon though can be complete without. First off, this is amazing armor. This is one of the best sets in the game for every class. I think. Just straight up, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The helmets are very Lord of the Rings, like Ring Wraith-esque, which I really love. But I just love them across the board. They look so good. The weapons are a lot. I'm going to talk a little bit about the weapons when we get to Q&A here in a minute. But just kind of flying through this Schwab real fast. They have the ugliest thing I think that they've ever put in Bungie rewards available. This ugly ass hoodie. that makes
I
you
got
look
it.
like you went and shopped in the kids section at Target?
I mean, look, I like to go to the toy section in Target sometimes.
Yeah, but Corey, are you buying a jacket that looks like it belongs on a 3-year-old?
I mean, I think my son has this jacket actually.
I'm pretty sure that all my friends who have toddlers under the age of 4 have owned a jacket that look exactly like this. Very cool dungeon pin and dungeon seal. Very not cool hoodie. This is awful. This is awful. Of course, it's June. So first off, happy Pride. Happy Pride to everybody out there. I know we have several members in the community that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. So congratulations on it being Pride. Have a happy Pride. I hope that it is. I know the tensions have been kind of high, especially here in the States. I hope that we get through this month without any incidents. But of course, with it being Pride, I reminder about the Bungie Pride emblem that you can get, and they have one for they have a $10 donation one. It's the Prism one, and all funds raised during the month of June will go directly to the It Gets Better project. That's also a charity that I have donated to in the past that I really like the work that they do. There is a marathon emblem that you can get. You probably have seen it on Twitter. I think
I
it was
redeemed
Ronnie.
it today.
Yeah, I think Ronnie posted the code in the Discord already last week. But if not, it's here in the TWAB. And that genuinely is about it, which is absolutely wild. I actually cannot believe this. This is the smallest TWAB that we've had forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's oh boy.
The TWAB. Short TWAB.
Short TWAB. They do include a link to a tweet down at the bottom, though, from the Destiny 2 team. We wanted to see what a Screeb looked like scaled up 5 times, and the results were horrifying. This scared
terrifying.
the absolute shit out of me, and I fully envision this being something they put into a future raid.
Oh no, I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It absolutely terrified me. So good luck, have fun, I guess.
Josh, I don't want this. Just saying.
It's not great. It's not great. Oh man. Oh man, it's terrible. It's terrible, my friend.
Oh man. Good times though. Maybe. For someone.
For someone, not for us. We're gonna have the return of Lore Corner here tonight, so let's go ahead and head to questions.
Questions.
So Joasis writes in and asks, of all the cheeses you sampled this weekend, which was your favorite and least favorite way to break the game? There's a number of cheeses that were discovered this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw.
I'm torn. I don't have a least favorite cheese, first off. It's almost a 3-way tie because the new Trials emblem that you only get if you win every match by not trailing on a flawless ticket. That's bugged. If you just go flawless at all, you get it, which is making some people very angry and very upset over a fucking emblem. There is you can do Callie in 45 seconds in Last Wish, which was just absolutely wild. We just sat there and tanked her and then ran to the other side of the room and loot popped. And then there's my personal favorite, which is you can cheese the dungeon boss on Master without ever getting shot at if you have Wither Horde. I definitely did not do this multiple times this weekend for free Artifice Armor and for the Master Sparrow.
Of course not. Why would?
Of course not. I would never defile the sanctity of a Master dungeon.
You're a purist.
I'm a purist. I would never ever do this. I would never do it, Joe. And my favorite cheese that I had this weekend was absolutely. I had a nice Dubliner with some crackers. That would be my favorite cheese I had.
Ooh, well, I live with children, so we have string cheese and Kraft's singles.
Listen, you don't have to have children to have string cheese in your house. Source, I have it, and I love to get cheese fresh sliced at the deli because I'm a fucking old man. I like my cold cuts. Nerd writes in and asks, "What's the next weapon you'd like to see as a damage meta?" Glaives, baby, glaives.
Glaives all
Glaives.
day.
If we're talking like actual like DPS metas, I mean, I kind of got LMGs last season. I only got to enjoy a season of them. I would genuinely like to see heavy grenade launchers come into the rotation. It's just we thought it was going to be that with Wendigo, and then it wasn't. Same with Regnant. Regnant is still good, but it definitely wasn't like super OP. I would love a return to the heavy grenade launcher meta. I think that was one of the most fun heavy metas that we've ever had. And I feel like this season would have been a lot of fun with it being an arc themed season and like being able to use anarchy and whatnot. I think this season could have been a lot of fun
Yeah.
for that. Glaives and heavy grenade launchers, baby. That's what I want.
I want Glaives. Glaives all day.
You want Glaives. Corey says Glaives all day, especially with those new Hunter gauntlets. Whew.
Just saying.
Tiger Jesus, someone who writes in frequently. Tiger Jesus 64 asks us, do you think Io or Mercury will get the next dungeon? I'm going Io.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Io.
I think Io makes sense in the context of the story. It is the last place that the Traveler was at before it came to Earth to defend Earth against the attack of Nezarec, as we now know. So it holds significance there. It is the planet that Ikora goes to, of course. It is the planet that Asher Mir was the vendor on. So I feel like Io will come back as an explorable space. And there's also like 3 strikes you could bring back. The Whisper of the Worm mission is there. There's a lot of things we can do.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
And I think it's just like, I know the Pyramidion is technically brought down by Asher in the lore. But I mean, Brachion falls into the Vex network with Asher. We kill him for good in the Vex network. I think there's a lot of lore relevance there. Of course, the Tree of Silver Wings was there that we saw grow throughout Arrivals. There's a lot of precedence there for us to be going back, I think. And I do, to be completely clear, I do think the dungeon would take place in and around the Cradle of the Traveler, if there were to be one. I think that's just more interesting than Mercury, personally. Mercury, we need a complete destination overhaul if we're going back to Mercury. Like, that's going to have to be Crota's ended.
It's man, Mercury was rough, man. It was so promising, right? With the infinite forest, and it just like
I really feel like that was an idea that was like before its time.
Oh yeah.
Personally,
I think if they did Mercury now, they would definitely hit on all the right whatever, right? Like I think Mercury would be cool now. But
I agree.
Rip Mercury, I guess.
R.I.P. Mercury. One of my favorite strikes. I absolutely love the strike. I like both of the strikes on Mercury, actually. I thought they were both really fun. Jiggly Panda writes in. Jiggly Panda. Do you ever think Bungie would let us do the 12-man raids again for the end of D2? Yeah, I feel like when they inevitably do a D2 Age of Triumph, they're going to bring that back as a thing. Like 12-man raids, strikes, nightfalls, just like let that crazy error go like wild.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
I think I feel like they would let us do that for a time. That like a couple, or like it would be select activities each week where they would let you do that. I do think a 12-man raid within the context of the story is inevitable at some point, but I think that it would require us to be off of Xbox One and PS4 to do it.
Yeah,
I don't think you're getting that while we're still supporting hardware from 2011.
I would very much like for this game to be off of those consoles at some point.
I would very much like for it. Yeah,
I want to. We're almost 4 years into this consoles. Why?
It's not great. Jiggly Panda also writes in and says, "What is your favorite dungeon, weapon, or armor set in Destiny?"
Oh boy, my favorite armor set. I mean, I'm rocking the cowboy stuff right now, but I think it's just because I got the cowboy hat like a couple weeks ago, and I'm not taking it off because I'm so proud / embarrassed by it. I do think that armor set is cool though.
I think
you have the whole thing equipped.
For me, best armor is 100% Ghost of the Deep. My runner-up is the Thorn set. I think the Thorn set from Grasp of Avarice is really cool too. But those are both like more of my personal style, I would say. As for weapon suite, I need to play with this one a little bit more. I don't want to like jump out after 4 days and be like, oh, it's Ghost of the Deep. Armor's a little bit easier to judge than weapons, I think. The
Yeah.
weapon rolls you can get are really good, but I think the fact that we've had two different suites in Prophecy kind of weighs into this decision. We got the Ikelos weapons back in the first wave, and then
Hmm.
when they redid the weapon pool a year later, they gave us all of the old Trials of the Nine weapons, and they were actually good.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go Prophecy for the weapon pool, even though it's mostly reprised weapons. I'm gonna go with Prophecy.
Yeah, I really like the prophecy stuff a lot. I I like the weapons. I would pick that for weapon pool also, I think. So
Joasis has another question. Question for Josh: how will adding Volt Shot to the new Trials Glaive affect LeBron's legacy? Goated status.
yep.
He was already there after the legendary Mike Breen call blocked by James on Iguodala. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen in the history of any sport. Even though I desperately wanted LeBron to lose. But in all seriousness, no, Volt Shot on that Trials Glaive has me really giddy. I'm very excited thinking about that, especially with the new Hunter Gauntlets with
Yeah.
all the glaive perks. Very excited to see how that one shakes out. Ronnie asks, will the Schwab be renamed down the line once Destiny and Marathon are out in the wild, or will it cover both at the same time? We talked about this last week.
We did.
We were
Yeah.
actually asked this exact question last week. I don't remember if it was Tiger Jesus or Knox. I think one of them asked us
I
this
think it was
question.
Knox.
If it was not one of you, whoever asked it, I'm sorry that I forgot who you were. But we did answer this last week. We think they're going to be separate, and I have no idea what
Yeah.
they'll be called. The Twid, the Twim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twab
Man,
is
that's
just
gonna be
iconic. I feel like Twab probably sticks around for Destiny.
yeah.
Um, and then Ronnie also asks,
I
he
mean,
goes, oh, go ahead.
well,
Go
you
ahead.
could almost do like TWAB parentheses Destiny, TWAB
Ugh,
parentheses Marathon.
gross.
I know it is gross.
Gross.
I know it is gross, but you could technically do that.
Gross. Ronnie also asks us, he goes, I think we are personally eating good in the weapons sandbox. What has been your go-to weapons as of late while playing?
Oh man.
I'll give Corey some time to answer or to think about this one. The new SMG from the dungeon, no distractions. I've been enjoying that. I have a rangefinder incandescent on it. I also really like the new rocket launcher, Cold Comfort, which I got with Chill Clip and Envious Assassin. So it's fun running around with three or four in the chamber. That actually is really fun. Other than those, I'm running Randy's throwing knife again now that it drops with random rolls. Really enjoying Randy's throwing knife, and I really like the I'm forgetting the name of it, the stasis pulse rifle that you can get from or not stasis, the strand pulse rifle you can get the Taken one. Really enjoying that one. I've got that one with moving target hatchling. That's been a lot of fun in PvE for me. Corey, what are you kind of feeling here a couple weeks into the season?
Well, I got the shotgun from the story mission.
Oh, really? I really like the shotgun.
I love the shotgun. I mean that's I you know me and shotguns, and it takes a lot for me to take the glaive off, but I'm rocking the shotgun. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of what I've been playing around with. I mean, like I said, I haven't really been playing a lot this season just because of other things going on, but
Right.
I will have time over the weekend to dive deeper. But I really like the Taken weapons. I think they all look great. I want to have more of them. I want them all. I want to take them all. Take them all.
Take them all.
Take on.
I had the exact same thought. We're right here. We're right here, Corey.
I know.
Joasis has the final question of the week. He goes, also, in week 2 Veil Quest, Siva is brought up as being a key factor in creating this containment unit. Do you think maybe next season we'll have a Siva element and they bring back Wrath of the Machine? I have actually not done the Veil Quest this week. I'm really glad that you brought this up. I have not done this yet this week. This is my cue to go in and do it, I guess. I mean, you could
I
have a Siva element, but the problem is Siva's largely been contained to the Plague Lands. And even then, the whole reason that the heist in the tower happens for the Outbreak Perfected quest is because they're trying to steal that weapon to copy and clone Siva.
Hmm.
Um, we know that Siva's mentioned in the Lightfall campaign as well, as
Yeah.
being instrumental in building Neomuna, I believe. So I think there is room for that. I think that you're kind of walking on like tricky ground when it comes to Siva, because
Hmm.
Siva's not a wielded element, it's a technology. And I know that you understand that, Joe. I know when you say element, you mean storytelling element. Um, I think Siva truly was something that Bungie just like kind of made up because they needed something for Wrath of the Machine, or for Rise of Iron. Remember, Rise of Iron was not in the original plan for
Hmm.
Destiny 1.
Right.
So it was just
I
kind
mean,
of
they
made
pumped
up.
that thing out in like 8 months.
Yeah, they pumped that out in record time, which is why there's only like 4 story missions. Um, I don't think them referencing it is necessarily a coincidence. I think it's more of an effort to like bring that. That's kind of the expansion that like doesn't have any sort of meaning really.
Hmm.
And I mean, I hate saying that because I know we all like seeing the story of the Iron Lords and of Saladin and becoming an Iron Lord ourselves. It has no It's the only expansion that has no standing on the greater universe.
Yeah.
Like the Dark Below, Warmind, House of Wolves all had standing. This is almost as inconsequential as Curse of Osiris ultimately was,
Yeah.
and that's saying something. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they'll actually do there, but they could.
Although Rise of Iron was better than Curse of
Oh,
Osiris.
it's definitely better. Despite how much I may not care for it, it's definitely better. I will admit to that.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, they gave us Outbreak Prime, which is,
they did
you
give
know,
us Outbreak Prime, but
just saying,
Corey,
it's great.
let's uh let's head to the lore corner. We haven't been here in a little while.
Lore Corner.
Lore
Oh,
corner.
I want to say one thing on Siva real quick
Go ahead.
though
Go ahead.
before we move on. It's so Bungie kind of came out and said that they were done with Siva 2 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Real it might have been when they were data mining Season of the Splicer and everybody thought it was going to be a Siva season.
Yes, I remember this.
And uh but I do think like yeah, Siva's been brought up a couple times this expansion in this season. And maybe that's how you please the people who want Siva, is to bring back Wrath and maybe tie like a mission or two within the area of the raid or something. I don't know. I just I think with Strand also, like, that kind of fills that Siva kind of power fantasy almost in a few ways, to where like Siva really isn't needed.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think that we've evolved beyond the need for Siva as a storytelling device too.
mhm. Yeah.
Um,
All
but
right,
Corey,
lore corner.
let's head to the lore corner. We've got 2 pieces to read here, real quickly. The first is for the seasonal weapon that you can acquire from the vendors, Last Rite. How will you choose to die? That's a great way for this to start off.
Oh God.
Caitl and Saladin sit alone in the council chamber. 2 metal bowls bearing the inscription Perun sit between them. Each holds a pile of small, smooth stones that rattle along the hum of the Eligos Lex 5's engine. Saladin rolls a stone in his fingers. He leans forward and places it on an intersection of lines seared into a thick leather mat. He taps the table beneath it. These stones are like legions raising your banner, each one placed as a claim. He leans back in his seat and gestures to her. Turn. Kaitl's eyes remain on the spot where Saladin placed his stone. She flicks an azure stone from her bowl onto the mat, then nudges the stone adjacent to Saladin's last placement. Aggressive, but the object isn't to kill. Establish borders, hold territory. Saladin's words are measured as he places a counterstone. Caitl considers a flanking maneuver, then a defensive line, or, speaking of borders, Caitl flanks. You place too many between yourself and your legionaries. Saladin looks up, then back to the board. Caitl continues. It is how Taranth chooses to die, rather than ossify into an immobile monument of bone, drawn on a cart that the young may hear their wisdom. Saladin shoots her a look, then connects a line of stones in defense. I'm not an executioner. You carry a large axe, she spars, placing another stone by his. He groans and places a stone away from the clash. Tarnth respects your command. She bears your iron banner, Caitl continues. Death by your hand would be an honor. Saladin sighs. That's not how I see it. Because it is not your custom. In the age of conquest, warriors nearing death were gathered into legions and deployed at the tip of the spear. A final glorious death charge seen by all. Caitl considers her next move. Callus did away with the practice, denied our greatest their glorious deaths. He surrounded himself with a host of petrified elders soaking in their counsel. Those who resisted were shown the fighting pits to reclaim lost honor. Most soldiers were called home to Torabottle to live out their lives in the Empire, paid as citizens, but many still chose to die on distant battlefronts when the opportunity presented itself. This is comfort for her. Saladin captures her first to Saladin Stone. Fine, but this is my last rite of proving. Very well. She wishes you display her bleached skull in the barracks. Saladin glares up at her and moves to secure a corner of the board. You're joking. Yes, she snorts. It goes to her family. This is very enlightening for Cabal death customs. We've come to learn more and more through Saladin's experiences with the Cabal, and I think it's pretty telling that this is on the seasonal weapon, where it's more likely to be seen than some of the other items we may get. I like that we're learning more and more about the Cabal customs, just as we've learned about the Elixni ones through Mithrax and Ido. I think it's important to understand why these races are the way that they are. The Cabal are in this transitionary period, and it's kind of like, well, Callus did away with the practice. Maybe he was on to something there. Maybe that's like, there's a meme that goes around on social media. The worst person just made a good point. Like, that's kind of how we are here. Like, maybe Callus had a point in sparing lives. If you want to go die on your own, go for it. But this should not be our custom at all. We are a species that is verging on extinction at this point after the destruction of Torabottle. So I like that, and I'm curious to see how like this philosophy plays out more and more, because we know like Caitl and her troops aid us a lot on Neomuna, for example. She and her troops help us hold down the Veil containment against Callus. Ultimately, they're all killed except for her, but they help hold it down with us. She sends her legionaries and her Valuses to help us during the battlegrounds missions that we did, the psyops ones. It's very telling. I mean, for God's sake, she's got Centurions protecting the tower now, in the tower and in the helm. Like, this is pretty big for her. Like, I think maybe she's finally coming around, and I think that part of that is Saladin's influence. Also, I don't think we get to that point without Saladin.
Right.
So that's kind of nice to be thinking about. Our second piece comes to us from the Purpose lore book, which you get for doing the seasonal storyline. And this is called Debriefing. Sloan, Commander Zavala's voice sounds distorted, as if he were underwater. The chill running down Sloan's spine only adds to the sensation. She knows she had been gone for a while. For how long, she isn't sure. Seochain's internal chronometer had glitched out shortly after Titan disappeared and took them with it. Sloan had been left to measure the passage of time by feeling it in her bones. The universe moved on without her. That was to be expected, but Sloan still can't believe Zavala's debriefing. The words crash into her like one tidal wave after another, threatening to knock her off balance and fill her lungs with brine. Stasis, Caitl, the House of Light, Savathun, the Lucent Brood, Neomuna, Amanda. Sloane's thoughts drift back to the wake of the Red War, call signs and banter as Holiday's hawk flew overhead, small talk between sorties, quiet moments and shared laughter between the staccato of gunfire and roar of jet engines. A friendship chiseled into marble, one stroke at a time. Amanda was always fearless, the first to stand up, the last to go home. Why did she always have to be such a damn hero? Sloan, Zavala says again. She realizes she's been clenching her fists. She might have been shaking. Sloane's eyes focus once more, meeting those of her commanding officer. He looks different than she remembers. His eyes seem older, wiser, and filled with something that catches her off guard. Is that pity? Can he see it? The pit growing in her stomach, this yawning chasm that yearns to swallow her whole. Is he questioning her resolve? Her ability to see this through? To do her duty back on the front line so others don't have to? Does he see your weakness? Sloan clenches her fists again. Sir, she replies, her voice holds steady. Understood, sir. Zavala's brow furrows. It's a lot to take in. If you need to, I don't. A moment of silence passes. Sloan does not let him see anything. Zavala nods. Very well, he says. Dismissed. Sloan salutes and returns to her station. She would be the first to stand up and the last to go home. I mean, this is kind of your standard stuff. She's being caught up on everything that's happened, but I think this also plays into what we were just discussing about will the Taken that's within her eventually overtake her, and I think that that's a fair thing to consider because fucking Xivu Arath yells at her here. Does he see your weakness? That is Xivu Arath. It's in all caps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not great. Definitely not great.
Plus, in the opening of the first mission, she says that she can feel them, and you know, she tries to play it off as like it's kind of like being in their comms or whatever they call them, but it's like she can feel them, you know. And well,
it's I wonder. But we're also harvesting the Aragorn coral.
Yeah.
And she's absorbing that, and it's taken when you're absorbing it, when you're gathering it in these missions. That can't be good for her.
No, probably not.
It's probably amplifying these voices in her head.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so just a couple of little nuggets here to kind of ease us into the seasonal storytelling. We've got some more, and I'm mapping out what we're going to do for the rest of the season right now. My cat is crying in the background.
I hear.
My cat is very upset right now. I don't know why. Probably because I have not given it attention in 3 hours.
Well, you know, we're busy. Hello, cat.
Raven, shut up.
You know what my cat does when I don't give her attention for 3 hours?
What?
Sleeps.
Mine has slept most of the day, but he is very upset because Chelsea is at work tonight. So my co-pilot, cat. Raven, say hi to everybody. Hey, hello, everyone. Cat. Hi.
At first, I thought you said Revan, and I was like, "Oh, you named it after Star Wars."
No, his name is Riven, spelled exactly like Riven from Last Wish. So, Corey, why don't you get us on out of here, though?
Yeah, it's been a good night of podcasting, Josh.
It's been a very good night. I'm very hungry, and I have a little man who needs my attention.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching and/or listening. You can follow Tower Casuals on social media at Tower Casuals. Join the Discord.
Join the Discord.
That's where most of the action happens. Going to be honest with you.
Episode 150 coming up.
Yeah, man. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I will have a giveaway for episode 150.
Yeah. Maybe I'll dig something up and give something away too. Because I have a couple Destiny things lying around. So, Josh, where can we find you?
You can still find me on Twitter at Josh_Finn 2 N's. There can be a lot of Diablo and Spider-Verse talk over the next week.
Oh boy. You can find me at I am CoreyHT on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me in the Discord, on the internet, all these other places if you really want to follow me. You know. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening, and until next time, we love you. Goodbye.